Three, two, one, ghost. Hey, everybody. Welcome to 321 Ghost. I'm your host with Silent G, Kyle, and as always, joined by my pal Natalie. Hey, Natalie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Ooh, I'm doing good. Y'all, the movie that we're watching, if you just watched this and started this podcast right afterwards, oh, it gets real messy, real gross, real slimy, really viscousy. And gosh, that's even after watching fucking Slither.
Yeah, it feels like our theme of the month.
Yeah, it's a real gross ghoul summer. Hey everybody, we are talking about 1986's From Beyond. This is the second. Gosh, we might have to finish out this trilogy of this pairing between Stuart Gordon, our director,
Mhm.
and our actors, lead actors at least, Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. First being Reanimator, second
Mhm.
being this, and the third being Castle Freak in the 90s.
Mhm.
We might have to do that one, huh?
That'll be a fun one.
Ah, Jesus, they're all a lot. But yeah, I like the idea of, you've got your Scorsese and De Niro's, Burton and Depp, I suppose, your Alfred Hitchcock and Cary Grant, but your Stuart Gordon and Barbara Crampton and Jeffrey Combs trifecta is pretty glorious. Now the movies are a little much, yes, but this movie's a wild one, huh?
Yeah, it's really fun. And I think they're such a great trio.
I think so
If
too.
if they like anything that they're in, I'll watch.
And I like the idea, it was kind of the intention, or at least, according to Wikipedia, this was the intention of Stuart Gordon was, to make these, H.P. Lovecraft or H.P. Lovecraft adjacent movies, and have a lot of the same cast kind of playing different parts each time. I think in this one, it's, obviously it's Barbara Crampton, who's more of just as much a mad scientist a bit as the rest of them.
I think
Um,
she's the worst one in this one.
Do you think she's as bad as what's her face from Deep Blue Sea?
Ooh, it's a different kind of worst because okay, I think the doctor from Deep Blue Sea is worse because she wasn't like under the influence of some like supernatural type of situation. Like that was all her. That was all her cold, dark heart.
Did you know that the pineal gland is the horniest gland you've got?
It's not though.
I didn't do any research outside of this movie.
I did since the research team is gone.
Oh my God, what do you know about pineal glands?
Okay, I didn't know much before a quick Google. So I'll keep it really short and as not scientific as possible.
We'll love it.
So what it does is, and it's pine cone shaped naturally. I thought that was interesting that it says what shape it is. But what it does is it secretes melatonin. So, like, depending on if it's lighter or darker out, it will secrete melatonin. And then it also helps regulate your endocrine system. Now, I read that and was like, that has nothing to do with sexual arousal. So I need to dig deeper and figure out like if your endocrine system is like helping with that. And it does. So I'm assuming that's where they got that connection from because your endocrine system is what affects your hormone distribution. So that then in turn helps with sexual arousal and also gives you what is it oxytocin when
Oxycontin,
you
really? Jesus.
oxytocin when you orgasm. So there you go. So it is very loosely related to sexual arousal. So I thought it was a stretch.
Yeah, they make some pretty wild science jumps
Yeah.
in
And
this.
like third eyes and things like that. It's very spiritual.
Oh yeah, please, yeah, throw that into a lot of very just flagrant things said about people with schizophrenia, um, how they
I mean, in
are.
86, that very well could have been what they were saying.
Yeah, that they are super horny and see ghosts and ghost slugs flying through the air, and that must explain it all. Yeah, I don't think that's true. Um, so what's cool about this movie is that it's not just Stuart Gordon, Barbara Crampton, and Jeffrey Combs getting back together. There's a lot of people from Reanimator that come back.
Hmm.
Brian Usna does the story and produces it. And most important, well, and a few others, but most importantly, our special effects team, led by Mark Schustrom and
Killing
John
it.
Carl Buechler. This team, oh my God, you got to fucking
Give them an award if they
industry
haven't won
legends.
one.
Yeah.
Industry
Oh,
legends. There you go.
easy for both. Yeah, we have awards we can give out, Natalie. It's the Industry Legend Award.
You're right.
If only there was an award that someone could provide for being really important in horror movie industry,
Okay,
what
well,
could it
there's
be?
no need to be a dick about it.
Yeah. Looking at the filmography of both of these guys, like, fuck, you've got Beastmaster, Videodrome, Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, of course, a bunch of the Nightmare on Elm Streets,
Hmm.
fuck, Evil Dead 2, Phantasm 2, fuck yeah, Dick Tracy, that's great. They both worked on Men in Black. I definitely see, especially at the end of that movie, they like people
Hmm.
bursting out of other people.
They sure
Um,
do. Yeah.
so they were probably when they were doing Men in Black, at the end when like Tommy Lee Jones is like, he's like, eat me, and gets swallowed up. It's
Yeah.
one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah.
And Will Smith is like doing like the crunching of the bugs. God, I'd love to do that movie. I still think it qualifies enough as horror.
I think it's actually quite scary.
Yeah.
Like
And I
it's
don't,
like in a fun way.
oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It's a sci-fi horror
We
comedy.
can we can allow it.
Thank
We
you. I
make the
appreciate that.
rules.
So I wonder if they were working on that and just being like, ooh, hey, check this out. We did this once. Let's have them burst out of this other thing. It's going to be fucking great. They also, I know Mark Schusterman at least did also a lot of work on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show
Oh,
as
fun.
well. So, very cool. And even John Carl Buechler, I mean, he directed Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, which isn't that bad in this grand
Okay.
scheme of Friday the 13th movies. It's not
We'll
my
get there.
favorite. It's not my worst. It's not my least favorite though. But it does get increasingly bad after the New Blood. So
Yeah. It's not my least favorite either. So
yeah.
there you have it.
Yeah. And we both saw this movie for the first time pretty recently, I guess within this year,
Hmm.
over the last few months. And then it's just kind of stuck with us. So we were like, fuck, and we've just been on such a big Barbara Crampton kick. We love her so much.
Yeah, just can't shake it. She's so
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, and we've done, of course, a number of Jeffrey Combs movies already.
Hmm.
I love him to absolute
He,
death.
I feel like he takes everything to like a 13
Yeah.
and it just works. Like it always works. Like the way that he acts is so, I don't know. It feels like it would be over the top if anyone else was doing it, but it works for him.
Yeah, the dude's got this like just manic energy that
Hmm.
and then he just commits to like every bit so seriously. He takes every
Yeah.
role so fucking literally seriously.
And he's got some
And
bonkers lines.
some bonkers lines, and they put him in just some of the most bonkers makeup too. So he's always wearing like often like prosthetics and
Yes.
shit where you're
Yes.
like, fuck. And that's even before like where you see him in like Star Trek and shit,
Yeah.
with all like the face and body paint and shit and the tentacles and whatever. So let's hop right into this, huh?
Let's do it.
I love how low budget 80s movies, like their prop people just come up with computers. I was like, is this the same computer from Chopping Mall?
I love a computer room that is a computer room, not because there's a computer in it, but because the whole room is the computer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how computers used to take up like a
No, I
bunch of
know.
yeah.
It's awesome. And
I
like
love
all
it.
the like switches that he has to like flip to get it to work. Super fun.
I love having a bunch of buttons to press and flips to
Yeah.
switch, and
Blinking
you know what I
lights,
mean?
all of it.
Love all of that. So this movie opens where you have Dr. Crawford, which is played by Jeffrey Combs, and Dr. Pretorius. I'm sorry, who is he played by? My apologies. Um, Ted Sorrell, who just like the dude in Reanimator, like really hams it up because I mean he's definitely like
He's a good
under
villain.
he's covered in a lot of shit a lot.
Hmm.
kind of just like Slither. He looks Slither must have taken a lot of cues from this movie too, because at the end he looks
Yeah. Oh,
very
yeah.
much, yeah.
Yes. Yes, he does. I
Uh,
maybe that is, I mean, I shouldn't say maybe. I'm sure it was intentional when they were casting that they find like an actor that is very expressive to the point and has strong features too. Like he has a very interesting face.
mhm.
So, like he can still shine through all of that makeup and all of those prosthetics that are on him because he is wearing a lot of shit and he still looks like himself even.
They turn on this machine called the resonator. I've seen this movie 3, 4 times now. I'm never going to be 100% sure how this machine works and what it
Mm.
does and what the purpose of this is, other than to turn perverts into slug monsters. I don't know. Um,
Or to turn regular people into perverts.
One then to turn them and then into slug monsters
Yes.
afterwards. It's all a
There's an extra
process.
step. Yeah.
Yeah, Pretorius was just already one step on the ladder there. He was already in like
Mm-hmm.
full sex dungeon pervert mode. Is it a
Yeah.
dungeon if it's not in the basement level? Like, can it
I,
still be a sex dungeon if it's like just
so
on your second floor?
I wrote Sex Dungeon too, but it was so well lit. Like the sun was shining through windows. And like, can it be a dungeon if it's sunny?
It reminds me of an Airbnb I once booked in Oakland. And
And it was a sex dungeon?
well, it was just a few mats in this open room. And I remember all the walls were painted that exact same tone of red. And I was like, I'm pretty sure
This is a fuck room.
some fuckeries happened in this room. There's gotta be, right? Like I'm not gonna, pull up a black light or anything on this.
Do you feel like you know what the resonator does? Like fully?
Let me tell you and let me know how right I am.
Okay, because I don't know if I'm right either. So let's compare.
Okay, let me let me get my thoughts straight. So the resonator is through, I guess it radiates something that
Oh.
opens your pineal gland, makes that grow, and allows you to see into a different reality that's coexisting with ours.
Mm-hmm.
Now, without this machine, we cannot see anything in that reality, nor in anything in that reality can see us. But
Mm-hmm.
once we open that portal, so to speak, it's basically like a portal, um, you know, a sex slug portal. But also, like when it's opened, like they want to merge the realities, so like people get pulled into it and want to open it up, and I
Mm-hmm.
just don't. I Is that close?
Well,
I don't
that's
know.
okay. That's what I gathered as well. Because at first I thought that it was opening another dimension and bringing the creatures into our world, but that's not
Okay.
the case. They're always
No.
there. Like he says it. Jeffrey Combs says it, I think, twice in the film. He says they're always here. We just can't see them, and they can't see us. And the resonator allows for them to see these creatures. And for some reason, the creatures are like a T-Rex and they can't see you unless you start moving. And nobody
Yeah.
can fucking stay still. Nobody can stay still. So that's a problem. So I think the piece you were missing is it uses vibrations. So it has those like, what do you call those? Those like
Oh,
forks that are on the top.
yeah. It's like kind of like tuning forks. Yeah.
Yes, a tuning fork. Exactly. So it has like all of those on the top. So it uses vibrations. And then the other thing I didn't understand though is that it seems at first the vibrations were like small and like secluded to that room. And then they started to grow and go throughout the entire house. But also, it starts plugging itself in and turning itself on and like doing all of these special things. So I think that part doesn't need to be explained because obviously that's something wild going on. I think what's interesting to me is that it affects human beings so much and like mutates and changes them so easily, yet nothing is happening to the other creatures. Like they're not having anything like similar to that happening to them. Like they're good.
What other creatures do you mean? Like who else is in
Like
that
the
house?
like the eels, like the eels that are like the on the other side of like what's going on. So
Mm,
those creatures are totally fine, even though the machine is exposing them to different things as well. You know what I mean? Like it should be affecting everybody because it's like it's fucking with nature in its own way.
Yeah, so like why can't like if it's making like the humans all like super horny and monstrous, why isn't it making the flying slugs like more like people, like just showing up and like
Yeah, I
paying
don't know.
taxes and, engaging in civic discourse, I don't know, right? Whatever people do.
Just something I thought was interesting. Okay, so we're on the same page of what the resonator does and how it works for the most part, even though there's a
Yeah.
lot of unanswered questions. But I feel good about that. Okay.
And I think once you're exposed to it once, as we're seeing, like it
It
makes you
fucks
a
you
little,
up after
yeah,
one use.
yeah. So it even when you've had it turned off, you're still infected essentially by seeing this other reality. And
Mm-hmm.
as we're seeing with Barbara Crampton's character,
Mm-hmm.
so this opening, Dr. Crawford's able to turn it on. He's like, "Oh fuck, it's working. The resonator is working. Let me go knock on the sex dungeon door and talk to Pretorius, who's he's like, I'm busy. I'm doing
Well,
sex stuff."
well, also, like, clearly he doesn't give a shit about Crawford because he's got
No.
a gaping wound in his fucking face and he doesn't say, like, whoa, man, what happened? Are you okay? Doesn't give it a shit. Like, I noticed that right away.
Yeah, he gets attacked by that slug that bites off a hole in his cheek.
Ugh.
Goes to Pretorius. Pretorius is like, fine, I'll come out now. Like, if only if the machine's on.
Yeah.
Um, at the same time, MVP of this movie, maybe. No, I don't know. There's a lot, but this neighbor lady from across the
Oh,
street with her dog Bunny,
this
she's an
woman.
absolute riot, and I absolutely love her. And I would love to I would have just loved to continue this movie from her perspective and how
Oh
she's
my gosh, how
understanding it.
fun. Like they could
Oh,
have shown more of her like watching from the window and
yeah.
like seeing shit happen and like people coming and going. But I love her I love that Bunny like just wants in on this.
Yeah.
Bunny's just like, "What's up? Like I'm feeling a little horny from across the street. Let me
Yeah.
get let me get in there."
Is that what it was? Bunny was feeling like, ooh.
Maybe it affects pets more. There were no pets in the house.
Yeah, I guess Bunny is the only animal outside of, humans, of course, that went into the house, but
Hmm.
um and dogs don't like you need to teach a dog to have a taste for human blood, I think, but Bunny doesn't care. Or Bunny's licking up the like weird, like just viscous snot droppings
Yeah,
that were all over.
Bunny is gross for sure.
Bunny's real gross. My dogs are gross, but Bunny's real gross too.
Bunny takes the cake.
Pretorius comes and he's like, holy shit, we did it. This is awesome, right? Like, let me turn this on. He starts feeling, again, his
Yeah.
pineal gland, I guess,
Yeah.
you know, starts making him hot and bothered. You can tell he's feeling it,
Oh yeah.
from
He's
top to
like
bottom.
he's like glistening in sweat.
Oh,
He's very shiny.
he's like, I'm never going to turn this shit off again ever in my life. Like, and the thing is like, I think this whole movie is a dude that just couldn't get off enough from your normal BDSM stuff. Just had to keep taking it to a next level, next level, next level. And he's
Yeah, it's
like,
like
I need to unlock a new reality to find something to give me sexual gratification.
it's
And
like
that's
a
it's a problem.
science version of Hellraiser almost.
I don't know if I feel comfortable calling this movie a science version of anything. I don't know if the science is
More okay,
that's
fine. Let me reword it to sci-fi version
sure.
of Hellraiser. Does that work better?
One thing I saw in the production notes was that he had a lot of medical advisors on set to make
I read
sure
that too.
that everything all the actions taken by the doctors and nurses would be like, oh, it's totally true, totally proper medical procedures. And I'm watching this and I'm like, y'all did what?
Well, I
Y'all,
mean, 86 again, like that's a
yeah,
long fucking time ago.
that's true. That was
38
a year before
years?
we were born.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
Jesus.
I mean, different practices then for sure.
So Pretorius is just being like, we're never turning this off. I'm gonna see shit that no human ever being is ever gonna see,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna have full power. I don't know where the fuck he's going on with this. Um, and Crawford's like, this is wild. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm
Mhm.
running. I love this shot of like, the neighbor like running, going, "Ah,
She looks like she's in slow motion, and Jeffrey Combs is
yeah,
like, "Get the fuck out of my way."
yeah." He does not care about her. He's like, "Get the fuck out
No.
of my way. Let's get the hell out of here." The police arrive and they find Bunny eating on the headless corpse
Uh-huh.
of Dr. Pretorius, and then we go into our opening credits. Yeah, you get a little bit more of a story here than you do in Reanimator, where it's just like pretty quickly where they're some
Hmm.
experiment and then his mentor or whatever gets killed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Was it also by decapitation? I forget. I'll check.
No, I don't think it was by decapitation.
Now we go to the hospital, and
Mm.
this is where we're introduced to Catherine McMichaels, Dr. Catherine
Ugh,
McMichaels, my apologies,
yes.
played by the incomparable industry legend Barbara Gordon. Barbara Crampton. That's gonna fuck me up.
You keep switching their names together. I love it.
Have I? Oh, geez,
Yeah,
yeah.
you've done it a couple times.
Whoops. Sorry, everybody. And so you, Dr. Catherine McMichaels, who is, you know, and get used, enjoy it now. This is the most clothes she will be wearing for the entirety of the movie.
And only for a
Just,
minute because they make her take off the blazer and the brooch real quick. So
yeah.
she just keeps losing layers.
I love that they put her in all the layers to start, and then it's like, no, this is gonna get really yeah,
Hmm.
real leathery real quick. um she is at this psychiatric hospital, also with this other psychiatrist. They're butting heads.
Oh,
um
Dr. fucking Sass. Like
yeah, Dr. Blotch,
she fucking hates her. And you know what? She has good reason to, but also she's kind of just a hater. She's just gonna go against everything that she says.
100%. She is played by Stuart Gordon's wife.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So there you
She's
go.
in
That's,
Reanimator as well.
yeah, well, that tracks, that makes sense. So yeah, you've got a
Mhm.
lot of people coming back. And like, yeah, right, it's the 80s. Also, I think our understanding of behavioral health has come a long way. And then also the depiction of behavioral health facilities. Now, I've been in a couple of those,
Mhm.
like as a service provider with my work,
Mhm.
and it's not like that. Um,
And she's very nosy. Like she had to look in every single fucking window of every door as she's walking by.
oh yeah, like she's in like Arkham Asylum or some shit,
Yeah. Yeah. She's just like sightseeing.
And of course, there's always like the guy just furiously masturbating, right?
Yeah.
Just giving her that look, just being
Hmm.
like,
Shouldn't have looked through that fucking window.
yeah, don't look through the window. This is my private space.
Yeah. Get
Let
your
me
face out of there.
handle my business and get your face out of my face.
Yeah.
Um, like the police have this ability to just, they can either like arrest people, they can just have them committed, they can just let people go and go on their science experiments. Like, but right now, at least Dr. Crawford is being detained in this psychiatric
Hmm.
facility. Um, Dr. Blotch thinks that he's, schizophrenic. Dr. McMichaels is like, well, let's talk to him and hear this out. It does not take a lot to convince her. She's already like pretty on board of like, ooh, yeah, you want to make that pineal gland bigger? Can I come?
Well, I think that's part of the reason why I don't even remember her name. I'm just going to call her Dr. Sass. Why
Blotch.
yes, Dr. Blotch. The reason why she is so anti Dr. McMichaels is because she's fucking risky to the point where it can be
Yeah.
like malpractice. So that's where I think they butt heads a lot. So obviously, if she finds anything that seems like it's kind of mysterious and the work's already partially done, she's like, let's get into it. Let's do it. And Jeffrey Combs is looking disheveled and hot. Like, why
Yeah.
not? You know?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, they're just going back and forth. It's like, well, I don't think they should be experimented on. And
Hmm.
um, McMichaels is like, I don't think they should be locked away. And here I am watching, like, I don't think either, to be honest. I think they should just get the treatment that they need, you know, and
Or
just
if they really think that he murdered someone, like, I'm surprised he didn't just go to regular prison. Like, I mean, yes, he was talking about an experiment, but I mean, I'd be like, he'll pick himself back up again. Don't worry. I would have been the worst and just been like, just arrest him. He killed that guy.
So Jeffrey Combs is trying to explain what happened, being like, no, he ate him. Just fucking, I love that. Just bit his head off like a
Like a
gingerbread
yeah.
man.
Right to the camera.
Love it. Just hamming it up.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
And they're
So
like,
good.
yeah, maybe let's do a CAT scan. Let's see what's going on under the hood there. And then of course Dr. Blotch is like, and again, it's like I think just still this like this snippy like rivalry where she's like, why do you want to do CAT scan? I've already got this figured out.
And I'm like, why not? Yeah, like that feels like actually Dr. McMichaels was doing the right thing there because she's like, let's learn a little bit more about him before we just completely write him off. Like, because that's what it felt like Dr. Blotch was doing.
So they do this CAT scan and find out that his pineal gland has enlarged quite a bit. So
Mhm.
McMichaels is like, oh fuck, maybe there's something to this experiment. I want to get on this. Hey, if the main fucking doctor behind this is dead, maybe I can slide in and we can
Mhm.
call this a McMichaels discovery, classic. And, Blotch, she's like sitting there, smoking as doctors do.
Yes.
Um, in the 80s and maybe probably late into the 90s.
When people are getting CAT scans and important tests done.
Yeah, she's like, this is wild. Why are we engaging in this? And so then McMichaels is like, ooh, I've got an idea. Yes, maybe. Is he detained for murder? Yes. Yes, is he acting a little out of sorts? Yeah, maybe. And could he probably use some help? Because it looks like at the very least he is experiencing a lot of trauma right now.
Lots of trauma.
But hear me out. What if we just go run back and just run this wild test? Me as just this psychiatrist. What do you think? And then the dude from the police is like, all right,
Why not?
why not?
Roll the dice.
Let's roll the dice. Let's just try this out. Cause hey, maybe yeah, she's like, well, maybe I can save him. And I'm like, I don't know if anyone's like concerned with that, like right now. Like he's
Yeah, she's like, I can give him his life back. And it's like, girl, I think you did the fucking opposite.
but then they're like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, let's try it out.
Yeah.
No need to post bail, no need to, contact
No.
his family or his
Nope.
lawyers,
Mm-mm.
don't even worry about it. Or to even tell him of this plan
No.
because they just release him and he's walking out the front door and she's like, oh, hey, you're coming with me to Pretorius's house to continue this thing. And he's like, no, I'm not. Like, what are you talking about? I'm walking this way. Like,
Mhm.
what would have happened if you just said no and just kept walking?
Well, that's what Bubba is for, to keep him in line and like to keep an eye on him. They don't say that, but it feels like that's his purpose. Like he meets them outside and is like, "Hey,
I understand how you can insinuate that, or you're supposed to insinuate that. I like the idea of Bubba just being this. He doesn't even say that he's like a detective or with the police at first.
he
Um,
does."
he just pops out of the van. Oh no, he does say like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm this. I used to be a football player, and we're all crazy."
Yeah.
um, Ken Foree, by the way,
Uh,
fucking awesome industry
we love
legend.
him. Oh yeah, industry legend for sure.
Yeah,
Easy.
he's really fun in this one.
He
And
is.
real giggly too.
He's so good. He's like my MVP of this movie, and that's not easy when Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton are involved. Like I just love his character so much.
I was gonna say, I know why he's the MVP of this movie for you.
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah. Um, but he doesn't say like, this is why I'm here, this is what I'm doing,
No.
here's why I'm in. I don't know who owns that van because everybody seems to have the keys to that and drives that back and forth. He just like pops out and says, oh hey, I'm gonna come, and everyone's like, oh okay. I love this.
Yeah. I'm assuming there's like 5 minutes of the movie that was just cut where they explain what his role is and he's like meets them inside and all of
Yeah.
that. And they were just like, we don't have time for this shit. We need to keep this 100 or an hour and 25.
I just like the idea that he's just like, no, I'm just here for the adventure. I heard what y'all were talking about outside, and I'm like, that sounds pretty wild.
Yeah.
I'm a football player, we are crazy. We do say that. But I just like these like early interactions between him and Crawford. Like I said, he just seems very pleased with himself, this whole thing.
Yeah.
Just very giggly.
He immediately assumes, I mean, they are both doctors, but he assumes that Jeffrey Combs is Dr. McMichaels and not Barbara Crampton, which I think is really funny because she's like all clean and like well put together. It doesn't look like she just recently murdered someone. And
Yeah,
Jeffrey Combs is just a fucking mess. Like it's like which one of these people do you think is the one that you're supposed to be watching?
right.
You should know.
Veiled sexism, right?
Oh, for sure. No, that's I think that's the whole point
Yeah.
of him doing that, which is fun.
So they make it back to the Pretorius house. They get inside. Already, like Jeffrey comes, just like, this is a bad idea. I don't want to be back here.
And the address is 666.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
On Benevolent Street.
Mm-hmm. Super
Yeah,
fun. I
I
love
love
that.
that. So as soon as they get into the house, of course, you see like all like, like the cables and shit kind of going through that are coming from the basement that all connect to the
Mm-hmm.
attic where the resonator is. Um, Jeffrey Combs tries to escape pretty quick, but they're just like, we'll find you. Don't even fucking worry
Was
about
he
it.
trying to escape or was he trying to destroy the resonator?
Well, both. We'll escape from them and to destroy the resonator.
Okay, okay, that's what I
A little
thought.
bit of both.
Yeah.
And then this is where they find the sex dungeon, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna keep calling it the dungeon.
I think that's
Um,
fine.
yeah. So sex loft, but a sex loft, you think the loft is the entire space.
Sex loft sounds like an upscale club that you would go to have sex. It doesn't
Hmm.
sound as dungeony as it is.
Yeah. And this space is pretty dungeony. I mean, it's clean,
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's well organized.
Mhm.
So then we learned that Pretorius is a little precarious and has some sex issues. Now, the one thing I didn't glean immediately until it was like said at the end was that does Dr. Pretorius like have a dick?
Okay, there's a few things that I have questions about with Dr. Pretorius. So one is he okay, let's start from the beginning. Jeffrey Combs says that he like wines and dines them and like brings them over and all of this
Yeah.
and doesn't imply whether or not like all the bondage and everything is consensual. So that's my first question mark because what I was reading was that there was a scene that was cut where it's not consensual. So I'm wondering
Mhm.
if they decided to take that part out because they wanted to change that character, but he seems like he's supposed to be pretty fucking villainous. But in that particular videotape, like he says to the woman, like, give me your mouth. And she like willingly like turns and kisses him, which doesn't mean that she's there by choice, but it felt consensual, like the tape that they showed. So that was a little bit interesting to me.
It's hard to tell at first glance with bondage because sometimes
Yes,
bondage gives off the impression that it is not entirely
exactly.
consensual, right? Because you have your dominating
Yes.
person, right? Um, Again, where's our research team?
Yeah, where are they? But that's why I think because there's bondage involved, I think they needed to make that like explicitly clear if it was the case. And I don't feel like Stuart Gordon is afraid to go there because like he gives
Yeah.
no fucks. Like
Ugh. Yeah.
like I feel like if that was the case, you would have known. But then the second part, so Crawford refers to him as being impotent. He says that he can't fuck. Like
It's a
he like
eunuch.
yeah, he said eunuch as well. So I'm like, how would that like what? So I really want to know more about what's going on with Dr. Pretorius.
Pretorius, yeah.
Pretorius. I think it's just all very mysterious. But the first time I watched this, I don't think I even caught that. And I just thought that he was just like into like some kinky bondage stuff. And like in 86, they were like, whoa, that's a lot. I keep referring back to the year. Like it was a totally different world. Yeah, it's a lot to absorb.
Yeah. The exact line he says in this video is on your mouth, I want a kiss. And I was like, that's some weird phrasing.
It is weird phrasing, not sexy.
but I'm tied up and he's in my grills and I am afraid for my life, so I might have to participate. Not consensually, but oh geez. So he's trying to destroy the resonator from upstairs. Um, you see up there that it's I love the like the body chalk outlines,
With no
one that doesn't
head.
have with no head. Um,
It's
and then
it's really fun.
then the later on with Bubba's
Yeah.
with very clean floors after the fact. So someone must have mopped up a lot because that was a mess.
Yeah,
Absolute mess.
I feel sorry for the person who has that job.
And of course, McMichaels is like, no, 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 like we want to do, like, oh, no, let's run
Mm.
this experiment, like, but we don't have to do it right now. Let's have dinner. Let's wait till morning.
Mhm.
No need to get hasty or whatever, right? Who? I guess all those groceries were already there because he made like a really nice, like, was that like stew with dumplings?
It almost looked like have you ever had shepherd's pie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, you're Irish. You've had shepherd's pie. But like it looked like a dumpling version of that because it looked like almost like mashed potatoes on top and like meat and like carrots and things on the bottom. It looked delicious, honestly. I would have eaten it. I do like that Bubba says the real danger here is starving while they're like ignoring dinner.
But then at breakfast, he's like, how can you eat in a time like this?
He's all over the place. It's a lot of emotions.
It's a lot of emotions. Well, his pineal gland is going. And the thing is like, how much can your pineal gland grow? Like, there's only so much room in your skull.
Obviously, not too much in your skull because it starts popping out, turning into a little worm.
Oh my God. That is not shaped like a pine cone at all.
No. Maybe the end, maybe like the little tip of it is.
Oh, like the bit, yes, like the base,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
kind of situation with a little snake poking its head out and
Uh-huh.
eating. Oh, Jesus.
It's gross looking.
Um, I also liked how he was like one for you, and then three for me.
Uh-huh.
He's a big boy,
Yeah.
Bubba. So I get it. He's a football player. They're crazy. They go upstairs and or back upstairs, and everyone's just in that computer room, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, what Barbara Crampton is asleep at the desk. The men are being real creeps.
Just fucking watching her,
Just watching
talking
her.
about how
It's
hot she
awful.
is
Yeah. Oh, geez. When he like comes up and he's just like, she's pretty, isn't she? And you're just like,
behind him,
stop.
like right in his
Yeah,
ear.
I know. I love Ken Foree in this. His energy is just so um it's electric. It's just very like
It
wired.
feels
I
like
don't know.
he was in the best mood on set and was just like, I'm gonna just have the best time.
I love that for him.
I
Oh my
think that's
gosh.
what was happening. I love that when she wakes up and they're both watching her sleep, she's very just like chill about it. Like, oh, like did we get it working? Like I would have been like, whoa, what what's happening?
She is so hyper focused on turning this fuck machine on that I don't think she
Do you
cares.
do you think that she went into this thinking that the pineal gland was like something for arousal?
I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know. She understands it. I mean, she's a doctor. I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems because she also talks about it curing schizophrenia. And I'm like, how are we under the impression that those two things are connected? We get no
Well,
explanation.
there's no connection, right? Not like how a shark brain cures Alzheimer's, right?
Mhm.
Not in the same way. I think it's just like, oh, well, again, is that idea that like the pineal gland can make you see shit and
You're doing a great job.
get really sexed up. And they're like, oh, schizophrenic people act like that clearly. Uh, so this might help us in our understanding, and then therefore could get a cure out of this. If we get to look inside the schizophrenic experience of flying slugs and shit. Um, Again,
Feels like a stretch.
not based in science.
Yeah, yeah.
Not at all. So, but she wakes up and she's just like, all right, cool, let's go for it. So like, all right, everything's working. Let's fucking go. Jeffrey Combs explains like, yeah, it got a little destroyed last time, but don't even worry, I fixed it up. We don't
Barely. he basically admits that he could only fix it so much that it can turn on and off, but before there used to be different levels and shit like that. Like he really barely got that thing running.
Yeah, it's like we can only crank this to 10 or 0. So,
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
but again, just McMichael, she just doesn't think, just thinks with
Mm-mm.
her heart, not her brain. And they turn this thing on, and everyone just kind of I love all the faces that
Oh,
they
it's so
make
good. It's
when this
so
machine's turned
good.
on.
The machine's not the only thing that's turned on.
Ha ha ha. Did you have that in your notes?
No, I didn't actually.
Um, so everyone's just feeling a little hot and bothered. Everyone's just kind of like moving a little bit, just
Yeah.
kind of vibing with this. Um,
Or Bubba
fucking
feels kind of like a third wheel in this situation a
a
little
little
bit.
bit.
Mhm.
She looks over at, Crawford, just like, all right, I like this. Look at you. I like that hole in your face. I want to stick something in that hole in
I
your
knew it.
cheek. I like this.
A little pinky finger in there.
And then just like, you fucking Bubba's just like, doesn't even know. He's like, oh man. And I'm just like, this feels sexy. You
Well, like,
know?
and he explicitly told them, like, don't move. So if someone told me not to move, like even like she grabs his arm, like I would be afraid that that was too much movement. But meanwhile, Bubba decides he's gonna fucking walk across the room and interact with these fucking jellyfish. Like, what would make you think that that's a good idea?
Yeah, they all just, well, 'cause I mean, and then I'm like, are they all just kind of under the control of this? Is that why, like, as soon as you turn it on, it's like you're not going to listen to anything? I don't know. It's like people are affected by it and aren't affected by it, kind of
Mm-hmm.
depending on just like how the story needs it to go.
I absolutely
And
agree.
we also have the first return of Dr. Pretorius, who
Mm.
shows up, just not too bad comparatively. I mean, he's just naked and slimy.
He's naked and slimy, and he also like the texture of his skin doesn't look normal. Like I know they have like makeup and things on him, but like his body texture doesn't look like it did before.
Right. He's a
So he's
little more,
already undergone some change.
and he's like, touch me. Come on,
Yeah.
do it. Let me show you I'm real.
And he's like, okay,
Yeah,
what?
he's like, okay, I'll do that. And then
No.
he's got the little putty shoulder thing. It's
Ugh.
like Play-Doh. Yeah, I know. It's gross.
I would not have fucking touched him. I'd be like, no, I'm good. I believe you.
Yeah, geez. And then what? He rips off his face, and it's like this.
Hmm.
I don't even know what the fuck that was going on with that face.
Yeah,
Didn't
he's
look
got
like
all
him
kinds of
anymore.
things going on. And then he starts getting like little things coming out. Like it kind of reminds me of Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I was gonna say Beetlejuice, right?
Hmm.
From behind with the tentacles shooting
Yeah.
out. Good shot of his ass right there,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
tentacles and stuff coming out. Because we still got to put on a show, right? Come on.
Yeah. It was like, okay. I'm like, man ass is great, but this is a situation where I'm so distracted by all the grossness that that's just not going to work for me. So, yeah.
It's like Wishmaster, right? It's like you get your man
Yes.
ass,
But
but
it's muscly, just fucking
yeah,
muscle tissue straight up.
yeah. So I like how Jeffrey Combs is like, you're still human, and I'm like, how sure are you of that he is? And increasingly so as this movie goes, I'm like, he is not human and has not been for a long time.
And what kind of fucking human was he anyway? Like everything he says
Yeah,
about him makes him sound so unhinged
a
and
little bit.
strange. So I'm like, even when he was human, Crawford, like, do we really need this person back in our lives? No, we don't.
Yeah. So they're able to turn the machine off and everything
Mhm.
disappears and everyone's okay. I think Jeffrey Combs turns it off. Um, Next morning they're at breakfast.
You get that
Um,
great cut though of Bubba vomiting all over the floor, and then it cuts
mhm.
right to McMichael's cracking the egg and the yolk like falling. I thought that was really fun
Yeah, that's pretty gross. That's
and
pretty
super
good.
gross. Yeah.
Nobody learns anything from any of this, but maybe it's because they're all kind of infected at this point with all big old pineal glands. Because
Oh, they're having a super awkward, like, we had an experience together last night. And now they're all trying to like suss it out, but obviously I think there's still like residual horniness going on there. But I do love
Yeah.
that Bubba just like breaks the ice and is like, how do you explain my fucking hard on? Like he just lays it out.
He's like, how do you explain that? I have full control, and I only know only certain circumstances in which this will happen, and this is not one of them.
A fucking machine doesn't usually do it for me.
Yeah, I'm not on the gridiron with my boys, throwing around the pigskin at each other. Like, um, and of course, McMichael's her answer is like, oh, well, of course we need to run this again. We run all experiments at least 2 times. That's how science works. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think I think you're okay to take a pause on that one.
Yeah. And even Crawford says it. He
Yeah.
says we need to do this under controlled circumstances. And she's like, what are you talking about? I have full control of the situation. So she's feeling pretty cocky, pretty horny. And I mean, when the men are more level-headed for their sexual desires in this situation, it makes you wonder if this machine has like different gender effects as well, because she seems like way more heavily affected by it than Crawford is, and he's been exposed to it multiple times.
And I wonder if that's because,
Personality.
hmm, oh, I was gonna say maybe being a woman, she's like, men are worthless and I need better sexual gratification than I can get from just dude,
Well,
or
and
human.
that's and here's the thing,
So let me
and
tap into this. This
we
could be
get
really big for women.
we'll get like real personal here, but like I wonder if Dr. McMichaels had like 2024 vibrator technology, if she still would have been so intrigued by this resonator. Like, would that have helped?
I think so.
Right? I was like, she would have just been like, oh no, I'm good. Like, if that thing's gonna have flying jellyfish and slugs around the room, like I can get all this without that.
Yeah, people will go through a lot to get off, and in
No.
some pretty, strange circumstances, I suppose. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And of course, I off the top of my head, I don't know the history of, you know, uh, sexual assistance devices. But
That's the sexiest way you could have put it. Sexual assistance device.
thank you. I did say sexual, right? That makes it kind of sexy. So she's like, we got to run this again. Absolutely, 100%. And then it's a weird cut because then we lose a whole day because it's breakfast, and then it cuts to her waking up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that is strange.
Everyone I think is like getting sex dreams, I think is what's going on, or
Yeah,
some at least troubling dreams. I don't know. It's hard to tell whether it's a nightmare or sexy.
so okay, here's my question, because it does seem like they're all, something's happening in their sleep. So McMichaels wakes up and she's like pressing on her forehead, like right where the pineal gland would be. So clearly like she's feeling it. So I wonder if her waking up, like, are they all kind of like connected in some way because they experience the resonator like at the same time? Because as soon as she wakes up, that's when the guys start like kind of tossing and turning.
Yeah.
So
It's I get kind of hive mindy isness from it.
it's having obviously an extreme like psychological effect on them, but I think their different personality types make them react differently to it.
100%. I think so. I think you're right. So this is the second time we turn on this machine. She goes up and does it on
Terrible
her
decision.
own. Yeah. And of course, fucking, shit gets wild. The Pretorius monster, who is now like looking like a monster, like at
He's
least
looking
seems,
like Grant from
yeah,
Slither. Yeah.
100%. And just, yeah, no, definitely, especially with like half of his face all like
Mm-hmm.
getting all just,
Like forming into his neck. Like
yeah,
that. Yeah. Ugh.
ugh, everything's just so slimy.
Mm-hmm.
Now Crawford runs up and tries to save her. Um, he realizes that's not working, even though like he reaches for the fucking thing, and Pretorius says, no, don't turn it off. And then Crawford just like doesn't. He's like, oh, okay.
I thought that it like shocked him or something.
I guess it may have, because I know it did that later on, like when
Yeah, but
Bubba was
more
trying to turn it
extreme.
off.
Yeah.
Right. So he's like, well, I'm gonna go run downstairs to the basement and just rip all these things out. At the same time, like, yeah, you do get just this rough sexual assault here,
Yeah.
with him like mouthing on fucking Barbara Crampton's head as he like rips her blouse open or nightie
Yeah.
open.
Stuart Gordon loves putting her in the most awful of situations, for
Luckily, I
sure.
don't. I don't remember if it's like that again in Castle Freak. I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think she's good in that one. But I mean, and I'm not saying that she deserved what happened. Um, what I'm going to say is, why the fuck
Okay.
would you turn on that machine knowing that the first time a naked man popped out of the corner? Like, by yourself, you're going to go up there? Like, obviously, things are going to be worse. Like, that's just such terrible decision making. Like, I think that is supposed to be like representative of how much control it has over her character, because
Right.
that just seems like such a silly choice. Like, just horrible decision making.
Well, and then the lesson she learns from this time is like, oh no, 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 I'm supposed to do it alone.
Yeah.
You all showed up
She's
and
like,
that's
you
what made it.
interrupted the process.
Yeah. Oh my God, so terrible. But so Crawford's running down to the basement. Bubba wakes up.
And I
Bubba
love
and
what he's sleeping in.
I know. Hey, it's probably warm in that house. You never know. I don't know what time of year
Like
it is.
the tiniest underwear.
Yeah, he's just a big dude, so maybe just regular underwear just looks tiny.
And he looks great. I think this is the only time you ever see him like without clothes. Like I'm thinking of other movies and I'm like, he's always fully in so many things. And I was like, this is like real revealing because when those little tiny underwear get wet,
They do a callback in an episode of Keenan and Kel.
what?
No, they don't. I'm just kidding. But so they, I like how he's like running down. He gets halfway down the stairs. He's like, "Oh wait, hold on, I'll be right back." And then it cuts back to him. He's running down the stairs with a knife,
Where's
screaming
his gun?
in this underwear. Yeah, where's your gun?
The fucking
So
knife. Get out of
I
here.
know. I love that. So like they're downstairs fighting this basement slug monster, who gets a hold of Crawford and I guess like sucks all the hair off first.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
is it, see, what I thought, because his skin also has like a bunch of red patches, I thought maybe it was like he got hit real hard with some radiation and then that caused him to like it burned his hair
mm,
off and like burned his skin.
yeah, because I was wondering why that didn't happen to McMichaels. Like she
Yeah.
ended up being just fine.
Yeah, like cuz he was in the
Just
mouth of
just
that
fine. She
snake
was
thing.
assaulted.
Yeah,
Right.
like but he was like in the mouth of that snake creature.
Yeah.
So, or maybe those little spikes in its mouth are like whatever those like damn, I don't know the name of them. Like what they use to like create like a fade like at a barber.
Mm.
Maybe that's what his little teeth do. They just shave off all the hair.
I'll just give him a nice little fade.
Yeah.
It's like if yeah, I like that. Um, I think Bubba rips out all the cables there in the
Hmm.
basement, shuts the
Saves the
machine down
day.
again, saves the day. The second time he saves them, or the first time he saves them, of the two times he saves them.
Mm-hmm.
And after all this, they like come up and Barbara Crampton's like all just like screaming and very absolutely valid in being
Yeah.
traumatized
No,
by what the fuck just
she
happened.
is absolutely shook, which would make you think that she'd be like, we definitely need to get the fuck out of here.
They go back to the sex dungeon because that's also where Jeffrey Combs was sleeping. I
Hmm.
wonder if he slept there before. Like that's like where like
Yeah, what was
Pretorius made
his
him
room
sleep.
before?
Yeah, did he not have his own room in that house? Did he have to sleep in the
Well,
sex
because he
dungeon?
even talks about like hearing like the women like screaming while he
He
was
means
trying to
literally,
sleep.
he means literally right next to
It
him
seems like
because he had to
he's
sleep
just
in that
in the
room.
same room. I was like, bro, get a pair of headphones if you don't want to hear it. Obviously, like you're enjoying listening. So let's calm down with our judgments.
Maybe Pretorius makes him listen.
Well,
That's
since
part
he's
of
in the
it.
same room.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Um, And then yeah, just fucking, Barbara Crampton's like, after all of this, she's like, oh no, 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 no. Okay, I know how to do this experiment right. You
Mhm.
always got to do experiments 3 times.
Yeah,
It's
third
what
time's
they
a
always
charm.
say. That is true. And she's like, I just need to do it alone. You fucking dorks, fucking dudes just getting in my way, ruining this, me and my
Mhm.
private resonator time. And that's not how science works. You all need to stay the fuck downstairs and leave me alone.
Mhm.
Um, of course, Bubba's like, yeah, that's nuts. I'm not, none of
Yeah.
that's right. No,
Well, because
thank
he
you.
seems like he's the one who decided like they should leave,
Yeah.
and she's not having it. And
Crawford's out of
Crawford is,
commission.
yeah, he's just not even well enough to make any decisions. So Bubba's the most level-headed here. And like I feel like he's had almost as much exposure to this machine as the other two, and yet is still really doing a good job.
That's why I think, McMichael's like, yes, is she a little mind controlled and the pineal gland kind of controlling her a little bit? But then also, I think there is that desire and that wants to keep going as
Oh yeah,
well.
for sure.
So very Herbert Westish, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, which I get. That's why I like in this movie they put her in that role, which
Yeah.
is really fun.
Yeah, just the mad scientist situation.
Right. So Bubba's like, well, I'm gonna start packing. Let's get this fucking van sorted out.
Yeah.
Let's get all the leftovers from dinner and pack them all up so we got a nice snack on the way there.
Uh-huh.
And we're just getting the fuck out of here. We
Yeah.
need to go. And while he's doing that, McMichaels is like, it's like, let me walk around the
Yeah.
sex dungeon. Let me get
Well, he
a
says I love that he says, put some clothes on or I'm gonna drag you out like that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, those pajamas are the most conservative pajamas I've ever seen. Those like 1980s nightgowns that go up to, your throat and are like long sleeved to the floor. And then she also has an opaque robe on top of that that's covering that entire nightgown. I'd be like, I'm good to go outside. We're good.
yeah, I'm just going on a car ride,
I'm not getting dressed.
whatever.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
So she does ultimately get dressed, but in the clothes that she finds in Pretorius's closet, which good,
Mhm.
they all fit her perfectly. So good
Very
for her.
perfectly. And the most unbelievable part of this movie is her getting in that outfit in the time it took him to pack that van, because that would have taken her a minute.
When it comes to like, like lingerie and like it's like I just feel like leather takes a little bit of work, you know.
It's
It's not
it's
just like a pair of boots,
she's wearing a full ass like corset situation. Like that you have to tighten and tie, and the stockings that are attached, like the garter, like it's a whole, like you're getting in full drag.
Someone had to help her into that.
Yeah, like I'm like, who did one of the eels help her?
Well, the eels end up being kind of helpful,
They
so like
do end
maybe.
up being helpful. Oh, they're like her
So
little songbirds.
I know. So Bubba comes back upstairs.
Oh,
She is in all of this outfit, right?
it's a
And
great outfit.
starts sexually assaulting Crawford while he's sleeping.
100%. This man is injured, sleeping, and otherworldly at this point.
Yeah, and also like still covered in like slug juice. So when
Yeah,
you're
he's like,
reaching down there and putting her fingers in her mouth, I'm like, you do not know where he's been. That is not sanitary. I would
also
not
like
touch him
he's
right now.
probably sweaty too. Like, do we really want like all that? Like she's that's how freaky she's feeling. So, you know, this poor guy looks like he's at death's door, and she's like wondering what that dick do. So
And when Bubba comes upstairs and is like, what the fuck?
he's like, I can't leave you for 5 fucking minutes.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I told you to get dressed. I love. And she's like, I
I
did.
did.
Like, no, you didn't. I
You're wearing
cannot.
less clothes.
Yeah, you are way less covered than you were earlier, and it looks way less comfortable for a car ride. Your ass cheeks are so completely exposed. I've got leather seats. It's hot
Oh,
out. That is not going to be comfortable
sticky.
for you in this van. So please, like, you need to just, let's think forward here. And now at this point, they've turned on this machine so much and opened this portal to this
Mm.
other reality that now Pretorius can just turn this shit on his own.
Yeah, it seems like every time they turn on the machine, it's almost like its power increases or like they're thinning that veil between the like consciousness of those like eel jellyfish monsters and humans. But what I really thought, I really thought that Bubba was gonna have a moment of weakness when she's like hitting on him and he says,
Nope.
"You're asking for it." Wow. That that was pretty hot. I'm gonna give Bubba 5 boos for that.
It's a threat, but yay, if it works, it works.
See, I thought
But
I didn't see because I didn't know if he was gonna go for it or not. I thought he meant like you're asking for it like in a sexy way, not in a
no,
yeah, like so when he first says it, I was like, oh, okay, Bubba. And then I was like, oh no, he's gonna resist her. Damn, that's some
he's like,
willpower.
why do we need to get the machine involved in this? Why can't we just see where
Yeah.
things go with us? Come on. We're both working professionals, and I don't know. Come on. And with a shared trauma here, let's maybe just get together and see what happens. Though I didn't like, again, like, yeah, he's the least phased by all of this because,
Hmm.
he's like, you need to break free. And then he like, of course there's a giant mirror at the ceiling there, because it's a sex dungeon, right? So he just
Yeah.
like turns around, he's like, this is not who you are. And I was like, this is a little slut shamey. Maybe she still likes to dress like this sometimes,
Yeah, and
you know.
also like you've known her for like 2 days. Like you don't know
Yeah,
what she does in the privacy of her own home.
yeah, she's like, actually, this is me,
Yeah,
in
it's
privacy.
just
Yeah,
times 10 right now.
yeah, because the resonator machine, come on,
Yeah.
the slug machine.
Yeah.
So,
And well, and that's why I wonder, I'm like, how frowned upon was like BDSM and all of those things at that time? Like, I should have looked more into
hmm,
that research team. Um, because that's a perfect example of him, like, he's showing her like that outfit. I'm like, that's like a pretty tame outfit for like probably the last like 20 years, I would say. So I think it's interesting. I agree. I do think that it's a little bit of slut shaming.
I
Let
think
her
so
do her
too.
thing. Yeah.
So the machine turns on and they all run upstairs. And then it like releases like bugs, I guess, like all these little flies
I
and
don't know
bugs
what
and
those
shit,
are. I also
mosquitoes.
don't
I don't,
understand how they work because it looks like he uses his flashlight to get them off of Crawford. Like he like shines it at him and they all kind of
yeah,
disperse. But then when the light is pointing at him, at Bubba, they all come towards him. Like they're drawn to the light. So it felt like two different things were happening with these bugs.
didn't make sense to me, but he does save them again.
Mhm.
Again,
At the
great
cost of
effects
his
work.
life.
I know. Oh, when he's moving his little skeletal hands and he's like lying there in the ground, I felt so bad for him.
I
But
feel like that was inspiration for Piranha,
yeah. Oh,
right?
Jerry
Like just
O'Connell.
yes, like
Yeah.
his just skeletal, like kind of meaty, like meat covered bones. Ugh,
Oh, yeah.
it's pretty nasty. It looks
Just,
great.
oh, it looks so great. And that thrashed, yeah, just stringy meat, just hanging out and dripping.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. So they are able to get the machine off again, but Bubba's dead.
R.I.P.
Ah,
Bubba. He
R.I.P.
was the
Bubba.
best one.
Yeah, he was pretty great. And yeah, and honestly, the movie doesn't have the same energy without him for the
I
rest of it.
know. I agree. You lose a little bit of a spark with Bubba.
Yeah, I would have rather seen, like, if he was going to die, I would have rather had him die at the last confrontation with, Jeffrey Combs and them too, but just to have him
Absolutely.
more in the movie.
Yeah.
So they're able to get back to the hospital, and I guess also the psychiatrist. Dr. Blotch like also like performed surgery because she's just like doing surgery on his fucking head.
And this is
Um,
after that his pineal gland like turns into a little worm creature and like kind of shoots out of his forehead. So now he's like transformed into just something completely just gross.
yeah. Oh, super
He's a
gross.
monster. Yeah,
Yeah. So he's not in good shape.
he's really not.
They they make it back to this hospital, and then now it's flipped where McMichaels is, I mean, I guess under arrest, but and then also and then the police are just like, yeah, just leave her here. Yeah, just commit her here. It's fine. Um, I'll just do that
Yeah.
too. Because now she's explaining the same thing, like how Jeffrey Combs was in the beginning, being like, it ate him, and there's another reality beyond our own, and everyone's like, oh, get the fuck out of here. You're just as
Well,
crazy
and
as he
this
is
is where
now.
the other doctor, what the fuck is her name? I just write down
Blotch.
Dr. Sass every time on my
That's
notes.
okay.
Dr. Blotch, she really is pushing it now for me because she met this woman like 2 to 3 days ago and saw her completely sound of mind. And obviously, if two doctors now have gone through a similar experience from this experiment, maybe it's not schizophrenia, girl. Like maybe something else is going on. Like be a little bit smarter. But no, because she fucking hates McMichaels, she's like, oh no, we're gonna get that shock therapy going for you real quick, girl. Like I'm gonna put you in a padded room and your beautiful face is never gonna see the light of day. Like she's got a grudge.
Even the nurse is like, we can't, I don't think this is legal. I don't think we can do
Yeah.
this. And she's like, hospital policy states that nurses need to do whatever the fuck the doctors say.
She threatened her job, basically.
And then I think of all the medical advisors that Gordon brought on, to coach on this movie. All the doctors are like, yep, yeah, nurses need to fucking listen no matter what. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's still
Malpractice
just
or
normal.
no, they need to
Yeah,
they need to stay in line.
nurses need to stay in their fucking place. Because I'm sure the doctors are watching this movie and being like, oh, this could still turn out like okay, this could still be good for the pursuit of science. The doctors are not wrong yet until we see at the end of the movie. I don't know.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, so we've got Barbara Crampton who is on a table about to get electroshock therapy. Um, Blotch has left Crawford unattended. Crawford's third eye opens and shoots out of his head, and he gets up and starts making his way through the hospital with like predator vision. I guess that's what your third eye gives you.
Yeah, it seems like it takes over your normal eyesight because every time it comes out, you see his eyes like roll back. So at first I
Mm,
thought that was like a physical sign of like being in intense pleasure. But then I realized it was like, oh, it's because his pineal gland is guiding him with like predator vision. But
yeah.
also, like, it kind of switches from being something, is he turned on when that thing pops out? Or is he hungry? Or is it both?
It's both. They don't. That's the part they had to edit out is because he had this huge heart on walking around the hospital at the same time. Both stick out in the same way and move the same way. That's the fork part. Is you have the two prongs, the one that shoots out the head and then the other one the head, right? So just to kind of guide him through the hospital. And I'm sorry, like first of all, he gives them, I guess now a taste for brains.
Yeah, he turns into almost like a zombie because he sees that little bucket and he's like, "Oh, I see a little brain in there," and starts just fucking chomping on it. But I will say this, Dr. Blotch's best moment is how she reacts to this. She's
Yeah.
so fucking poised and professional. I would have just left the room and been like, security, he's in here. Need you to come see about this.
I like how she told security to call security. I'm like, security is right here. And
Follow me.
if anything we know about hospital security, in any of these movies we've covered,
Because he was off fucking around talking to the receptionist.
yeah,
And she's like, he escaped. Where were you?
look, yes, he should not be eating brains, but don't leave your brain bucket on the fucking floor if you don't want people to fuck with it. Put that shit up on a like at
That's
least on a high little shelf or something.
that's a really good note. It does seem strange that they would just be on the floor. Like he could have even found it on the shelf and still ate it, but yeah, very strange practices.
Yeah. And speaking of strange practices, this is where he like really gets off on just sucking eyeballs out. He doesn't like eat the eyeball and he doesn't like
He
eat
just
the
pulls it.
brains. He just pulls the brain out and just kind of spits it out and leaves it there like he's like sucking out of like a clam or something. Like he just like I'm not going to make the sound on this microphone,
Do it
but
like the
he
slurp.
yeah, he like slurps it out
Like
and just like spits it out. Ew. Ew. That was
but
not an
wait,
invitation
wait.
for you to do it.
Of course it was. So if he's sucking the eyeball out and not eating the eyeball, what I thought might be happening is he's taking the eyeball out as a means to get into the
Brain.
head and maybe he can like pull the brain out.
Maybe. So kind of like uncorking the head through the
Yeah, a little
eyeball and
bit.
sucking it out,
Yeah, a
or
little
kind
bit.
of in high school parties we call it like shotgunning, where you just like get a hole and just hold the head up and just drink straight out from the side like that.
Just like that.
Hmm.
And I'm assuming he's eating brains because now that his brain is like presumably like on steroids because your pineal gland has like increased in size and is now working like an extra dick.
Uh-huh.
He needs like extra brain muscle to like consume.
I guess, but
But
sure. Hey, science.
like vampires,
Yeah,
they
I guess
drink
that makes
blood
sense.
because it's what keeps people alive. Like it's life giving life,
Hmm.
brain
Yeah,
giving
okay.
brain.
Yeah, that tracks. I'll
I don't
take it.
know.
Yeah, sure.
That's my
So,
theory.
in all of this chaos, Barbara Crampton's also able to break free.
Good for her.
Yeah, hell yeah, good for her. She's able to, you know, get out of those restraints. She's always breaking out of restraints, um, BDSM or surgical or otherwise. And she's able to find the keys to that van that was parked right back at the hospital, and she's able to go.
Yeah.
And then also find this bomb and this timer for this bomb. Where does she find this?
I had the same question. How did she obtain dynamite so quickly? And she had time for an outfit change. So
Yeah,
she put on a well-planned outfit. She looked great.
yeah,
Redid her hair and got dynamite all in the same evening.
love that. Good for
That's
her.
a that's pretty impressive.
And Jeffrey Combs, he's also broken out and he's sucking eyeballs out of, the what
Ambulance
do you call 'em?
drivers,
Ambulance drivers, the paramedics.
paramedics, thank you.
Poor guy just like is still like on the stretcher, just screaming like
He's lucky he got out of there with his life. Shit. Because they had him tied down. That's why he couldn't get out. Yeah. So I was like, he could have easily sucked his eyeball right out.
he gets into the ambulance, Jeffrey Combs, and drives off to find her, at Pretorius's house. So they're all back here. So we're back at Pretorius's house. She goes straight up to the resonator, pulls the bomb out of this duffel bag, and starts getting that set up. Crawford gets there as well. So while
Mhm.
she is trying to get out of the house to get the fuck out of there, she gets assaulted by Crawford and tied up in the sex dungeon.
Mhm.
Now, this is where I guess we kind of get Crawford back a little bit because, like, as he's restraining her and the worm gland is like coming out, I love this. She just chomps right fucking down on it.
I love it so much. It's so
Yeah.
good. It feels like she's biting a dick off. It really does.
Probably not unintentional, right? By
I
any
don't think
means.
so. Yeah.
But yeah, just like biting a dick off, she just chews right through
Mhm.
that thing and rips it off and kind of brings him back, But at this point, Pretorius has showed up there.
Ugh.
Yeah, and he's looking just his absolute. I love this creature that
Yeah,
he's
he
it's just
is.
hulking around. It's so good.
Yeah, he's pretty gross looking at this point.
Yeah, it's very disgusting. And he's just like, I don't know. Yeah, just being ultimate fucking creep mode.
Mhm.
Um, so when Pretorius and Crawford are getting into it and fighting, these eels that you think are unhelpful all of a sudden like become helpful. They come in just like they chew through her little restraints and
Well,
stuff.
she tricks them because they're attracted to movement. So she does like a little wrist like
Oh,
jiggle. So they like, so it just so happens to just be like, oh, let me just take a light bite to get that restraint off you, but I'm not going to bite through your arm like I did with everybody else.
very convenient.
Very convenient. And I think this is around the time where Crawford is then making fun of what the fuck is his name? Pretorius, Pretarius, Pretarius.
Sure, all of those
Why
things.
can't I
Pretorius,
say it? He's making
you're
fun of him for
pathetic.
being impotent, and he says like you can't even make love. And he says his response to him is maybe you could teach me. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
okay.
geez.
Like
Okay.
I was like,
Why didn't he
wow, like
ask?
yeah, he's like, I'm not even gonna, he's like, I'm just gonna take that insult, let it just roll right off of me and take it as an invitation to fuck.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Um, and it's like, oh no, he'll devour the human race, and I'm just like, maybe just the sexy ones. It seems like that is kind of he's always kind of concerned with. I don't know.
That's true because all three of them are very attractive people. So he's like, they're into it. They're sexy. I'm feeling sexy. Let's take over
yeah,
that part of the world.
stick over that part of the world. Just be the sexiest little part of the world we can make. Sexiest, grossest, sluggiest. I don't know. They're trying to turn, or she's trying to escape. She can't. He's just in full, just monster mode now, shooting
Hmm.
tentacles out and this and this and this. He's got a hold of her. He's not letting her go. And also at this point, he has straight up eaten Dr. Crawford.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
So, so he's dead, or kind of. Yeah,
Kind of.
yeah, kind of. This is just so bonkers. This part where he bursts out of Pretorius and says,
Like out of
like,
his mouth,
out of his mouth, crawls right back out of his mouth and says,
looking normal again, too.
looking normal again, not decapitated, like his body
Yeah.
was just, in a pile over somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um, but is like bursting out and being like, run. And then, of
Hmm.
course, she's thinking, like, yeah, I mean, I would if I could. I really would. You do not need to tell me this. So, but it's not even just him. I think it's like other monsters that now start popping their heads out and they're like, it's chewing on itself.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going
Yeah.
on. It's all bloody and gooey, and you can't make sense of what's what at this point anymore.
It again feels very much like Slither may have been inspired, but instead of them being like a hive mind and like kind of like symbiotic, it feels like all these things are combining with him and not working together, if that makes sense. So like everything that he's like absorbing is almost like fighting against itself, the same way like he ate or like he killed Jeffrey Combs and then all of a sudden he's like birthed out of his mouth like a
Hmm.
completely normal human. So it's like the
Yeah,
resonator is just like not making sense of things.
no, not in the slightest. And though enough chewing, they're able to set her free, and she just fucking bolts, jumps out the window, I think.
Yeah,
And like
she
in the nick
has
of
to.
time too, because yeah, that
Oh,
fucking all the explosion goes off, destroys the machine, destroys everybody in there. Um,
yeah. Barely made it out. And it was a good plan with the
yeah, blow it
dynamite.
up.
Hmm.
Yeah, when in doubt, blow it up. You
Yeah.
know, dang. And like again, so funny with this movie is you have all this shit going on in this house, and you've got the beginning of the movie where like the neighbor comes up, and I think like they don't really focus on like the other people in the neighborhood of these mad
Uh,
scientist houses.
no.
But you show the rest of the neighborhood at the end here too, like crowding around
Yeah.
her being like, what the fuck is going on?
They're like,
Didn't we get
what
this shit
happened?
settled last week? Like, why,
Yeah,
what is
didn't
going
we
on in this
arrest that
house?
guy? Like, who is living here now? And her leg, her like knee,
Yeah,
And like, oh,
it's real
that
rough.
looks real rough and very painful and very good. Like they did a really good job. Like you can see her whole like kneecap. Oof.
Which I was thinking if I was Barbara Crampton, I'd be like, hey, everybody else gets to have some like wacky prosthetic makeup shit. Like, give me something cool to do. Like, even if you just give me this like weird busted ass leg,
That'd be
it's
nice and easy too,
exposing
because
all the
it's not
things.
on your face and stuff.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, and she's, yeah, just like, Jeffrey Combs at the beginning of the movie, just maniacally laughing, being
Oh,
like,
she's like cackling.
yeah. So and just after being exposed to that machine over and over and over and over again, I don't know. I don't trust her. If there was a sequel to this movie, I don't trust her to not like rebuild that machine,
Yeah, I wonder if like you'd have to assume that it would have lasting effects. It wouldn't just
right?
wear off,
I would think so.
right?
I don't know. But that does bring us to the end of our movie,
Mm.
and that's From Beyond.
Hmm.
Anything we missed, notes wise?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Mm.
Pretty thorough, huh?
Yeah, this movie is really fun, really gross, and kind of sexy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
Now let's hear some taglines.
Okay. This one has only two taglines,
Okay.
and they're both fine.
Okay. Way to set that
They're
that
fine.
palette. Yeah.
Okay. The first one is everything is alive and hungry.
Okay. Yeah, sure, fine. I mean,
I don't know that it makes sense for the situation
I don't think it does either.
because the only person that seemed hungry was Bubba
Yeah.
before dinner. And
And
then
not at
maybe
breakfast.
not at breakfast. It may be Crawford when it came to brains.
And when it came to Pretorius with heads.
Okay, well then, maybe everybody was hungry.
Yeah, the Pretorius, the whole like decapitating someone just reminded me of a Payman from Hereditary, where it's like, is that
Mm.
the only way to get people into the next dimension or whatever is just through
He
decapitation,
he did say that it was like a rite of passage, like
right?
worth experiencing to make your way into being a blob person.
I don't think that's an experience I need.
Me either. I'll pass.
S- Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll give that a sideways thumbs up. What's the next
Okay.
one?
The next one is a quote from the movie, which is humans are such easy prey.
I like that one better.
I like that one better, and I think I'd like it even more if he didn't actually say it in the movie. I don't like when the tagline is said in the film. And I'm trying to think
Really?
I'm trying to think of an example where I would be like proving myself wrong, but I can't off the top of my head.
Yeah, me neither. But I'm not going to say I'm against it though. I don't mind
Not
it.
against it, but I'd rather not hear it.
Okay.
Oh, because in Deep Blue Sea there was the gliding monsters underneath a fucking glassy surface, whatever it was, and
That's
Janice,
dumb.
that bitch says it.
Hey, no need to call Janice a bitch, but
I
but
mean,
she's dumb and it made no sense.
she was not great either.
Yeah, well, the Sharks took care of that. So we're at our boo scores. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Cool.
I really enjoy this movie. I don't think it's a perfect movie because there's a lot of questions that I have, and there's also a few things that are like a little bit uncomfortable. I don't think they bother me as much as they bother you, but which is usually the case. I was leaning between a 2.5 and a 3, depending on how this conversation went. It was very fun to talk about, so I'm going to give it 3 boos. And I would watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to kind of marvel at the effects and the makeup alone,
Hmm.
I think is really fun. Um, I hear you. It's funny because I think I might come in a little higher on this movie.
Ooh.
I think it's really fun. I think I gave Reanimator 4 boos, didn't
You did
I?
not.
What'd I give it? Do you remember?
I checked. I think we both gave Reanimator 3.5 boos.
Okay.
I was going to ask you if you wanted to know what you gave Reanimator for reference.
I do like Reanimator better.
But
Um,
both of us did 3.5 boos, which is partially like part of the reason why I was like, okay, I definitely can't go as high as Reanimator because I do like Reanimator better.
yeah, me too. But I like this movie. I like the main cast.
Mhm.
Damn it. I know we're always on the same page. I'm gonna give it a 3.
Or 8 movie streak or
I
nine?
know.
No, I don't think we gave Malignant the same, did we?
Yeah, we never
We
remember what
did.
happens the week
We
prior.
did. I know. It just completely just leaves my memory.
Our hive mind is just plugged in the same, so we just keep popping out the same boost scores. That's okay. We'll just keep that going all summer. Yeah, 3 boos. I think this movie's super fun.
Hmm.
It's enjoyable. It's got its problematic moments. The thing that really holds it back from like a 3.5 or even like a 4 is it like I'm cool if a movie has dumb logic that doesn't make sense, but it also seems
Yeah,
to not follow its own internal logic either. So
I
when it doesn't
agree.
even follow its own rules, you're kind of like, okay, I'm cool with something dumb if it sticks to its own brand of dumb the whole way through. This one just is a little messy here. Yeah, 3 boos.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is the ninth one in a row that we've had the same boost score for. I can't wait to see which movie is the one that breaks it.
I know what it's gonna be.
Oh, I'm so
No, I don't.
excited.
Maybe we're gonna say you'll find
So
out.
I think I know what movie you're thinking of, but I won't
Yeah,
spoil it for anyone.
I want to say I still know what that movie might be.
Oh, geez. Well,
All right,
there you have it.
all right, everybody. Anything else you got to say on From Beyond?
No,
That's
said
all
it
I
all.
got. Okay, everybody. Just don't turn on those machines. Stay out of sex bedrooms, sex lounges, maybe even a
Just
lounge. I feel is a bottom floor situation, but that's just me,
just
though. I don't know.
utilize your sexual assistance device instead.
I'm not going to tell people that.
I just did.
Gross. 3, 2, 1, ghost.
Thanks for listening to our episode on From Beyond. If this episode turned you on to our podcast, subscribe and leave us a killer review on whichever platform you choose to listen. You can find us on Instagram at 321ghostpod and give us a follow. We're very active on Instagram and would love to hear your thoughts on the films we're discussing. You can shoot an email to 321ghostpod@gmail.com to share any thoughts, questions, or recommend a movie you'd like to hear us chat about. Next week, we'll be sharing our thoughts on the horror releases from the first half of the year. Thanks again for listening, and remember, don't fuck with science. Get it? 3, 2, 1, ghost.